everyone, Nicholson here, and welcome to Coming Soon Movie News with Nicholson. I'm your host, and on this show we're going to be breaking down all of today's movie news and kind of giving a little bit of background into what it means for the production in general, such as casting decisions, trailer announcements, director announcements, things like that. So, without any further ado, let's get into today's main topics. And the first topic I want to talk about is with the upcoming Mission Impossible 5. Now, we've known for a while that we're going to be getting a fifth installment in the Mission Impossible series, but as is kind of tradition now with the series, we've been wondering if director Brad Bird was going to be coming back, who helmed the fourth version, Ghost Protocol. But as what's been with tradition with the entire series is they bring in a new director, and usually they bring in a new writer, and every movie is kind of a reboot of the series. It gives its own unique flavor. And so with Mission Impossible 5, we have Christopher McQuarrie coming in to direct. Now, he's worked with Tom Cruise before. He helmed the movie a couple of years ago called Jack Reacher. He also directed a movie about 10 years ago now called The Way of the Gun with Ryan Felipe and Benicio del Toro. Great film if you haven't seen it. Great underrated film if you have not seen it. But they've just announced today that, because up until this point, Drew Pearce, the guy who was responsible for writing Iron Man 3, he's written a couple other projects as well, he was the one who was screenwriting Mission Impossible 5. And they've actually just announced last week that they brought in a man named Will Staples to rewrite Drew Pearce's script and kind of potentially take it in a new direction. The movie isn't slated to come out until Christmas of 2015, so we still got a bit of time left. The thing that is a little bit weird to me is this will be Will Staples' first movie screenplay that he's written. He has written video games. He wrote Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, and he also wrote Need for Speed Rivals. He's got other projects, but those are his two main titles. So we know that he's going to have a handle on writing the action sequences. The downside is especially conveying the fact that it's a Call of Duty game that he wrote. I don't believe that he has a great handle on character development, which is going to be that's one of the main criteria of the Mission Impossible movies. It's one of the reasons why they've worked has been the characters. With obvious exception of Mission Impossible 2. That was just a John Woo action flick. But you look at the first film and the character deceptions and all that kind of stuff, and then you look at the third movie and you look at the relationship that Tom Cruise's character and his wife's character in the movie have. Also his back and forth with Philip Seymour Hoffman's character as the villain. Everything was just written so well and so tightly, especially in the fourth one with the camaraderie between the team. Like the character development in almost all of the Mission Impossible movies have been the central core aspect. And bringing a guy like this in, I don't know if they're going to retain that. But I mean, it's still really early. They just announced it. We have no idea what this guy may have an unbelievable concept for the movie. He might say that, oh yeah, I got these great ideas for these characters, and he might be able to do that. And if he can, that's amazing. But as it stands right now, I'm a little bit hesitant about this project. So until we hear more about it, I'm still going to be a little bit hesitant. But again, I've increasingly enjoyed every Mission Impossible flick up until this point. I mean, the first movie was done by Brian De Palma. The second movie was done by John Woo. Third one was done by J.J. Abrams. The fourth one was done by Brad Bird. So there hasn't been a bad director in the bunch. They've just have their own unique styles. Michael Bay has kind of taken over for John Woo in terms of the mindless action sequences. But it's going to take a little bit more information for me to get a little bit more excited about this. Right now, I'm a little bit hesitant. And the second big piece of news that we have to talk about today is Simon Kinberg, or it wasn't necessarily with Simon Kinberg's interview, but Simon Kinberg is the writer and producer on the upcoming X-Men films. He's also basically the general in charge over at Fox's Marvel division. He's the guy who's overseeing all of their flicks. And a report came out, and there's a lot of little tiny bits of information that kind of back this up. We know now officially that Hugh Jackman is signed on for XMen Apocalypse, and that Wolverine will be making an appearance. How big of an appearance, we don't know. We don't know how significant of a role. It's going to be probably less than it was in Days of Future Past, or less than it's going to be. I still haven't seen the flick yet. But it's probably going to be less than his appearance in Days of Future Past, more than his appearance in First Class, because that was just a cameo. So I'm assuming it's going to be a smaller role Because again, they're going to be playing up the continuity of the film, unless again in Apocalypse they're dealing with time travel, which I hope that, well, I mean they could get away with it, but that's kind of a trope they don't want to get themselves stuck in. But we know now that he is back for Apocalypse, but looking at the release dates, X-Men Apocalypse comes out in May of 2016, and the recently announced Wolverine 3 is coming out in March of 2017, so less than a year after. I mean, Hugh Jackman's come out and said that, in order for me to come back, the script has to be even better than the first one, which you don't come out, first off, Fox doesn't come out and announce that they're doing Wolverine 3 and announce a release date if they don't have Hugh Jackman already in the bag. They don't do that. Because now they're pigeonholing themselves in having to find a replacement for that time. Calling it the Wolverine 3 means they're continuing the story. They're not rebooting the character, which again pigeonholes them even more. They got him locked. It hasn't been official, but I'm almost for certain that they've got him locked. A lot of speculation has led to the fact that they may be filming X-Men Apocalypse and Wolverine 3 back-to-back, or at least in back-to-back time frames. Not necessarily shooting all at the same time, but they'll shoot X-Men Apocalypse till day X, and then the next day they'll start Wolverine 3. Because they'll have a lot of the similar sets, and they'll have the same crew and stuff like that. It's a lot more cost-effective for them to do that. I'm pretty sure that we're going to get an announcement at Comic-Con that says Hugh Jackman is returning for X-Men Apocalypse. This is going to be the size of his role. Here's the person playing Apocalypse. Here's, X, Y, and Z. We also have, and here he is back for Wolverine 3. Here's a story for Wolverine 3. There's been a lot of hints that Wolverine 3 potentially will revolve around the Old Man Logan storyline, which to me is really intriguing because that's one of the best storylines, not only of the Wolverine saga, but for a character like Wolverine and for an actor like Hugh Jackman, who is going to be finishing off the character if he does come back. It still isn't official, but if he does come back for Wolverine 3, that is almost going to be for sure his last bout as Wolverine, which means doing an Old Man Logan story is perfect. He's been now Logan to this 2014. He's been now Wolverine for 14 years. He will be going on 16 years when Apocalypse comes out, 17 years when Wolverine 3 comes out. He's played the character long enough. We can allow him to retire from the character and go on to do other things. He's also getting older. I mean, by the time that Wolverine 3 actually is released in theaters, he'll be 48, almost 49. I mean, you gotta understand that the amount of workout that it takes for him to get into that character is almost too much. It's almost not worth him to do it. So I doubt we're going to see him come back at any point in time after Wolverine 3, but I'm pretty sure within the next 2 to 3 months we're going to hear an announcement of Hugh Jackman's back for Wolverine 3, he's back for Apocalypse, here's the official cast lineup for X-Men Apocalypse. I'm almost certain that we're going to get that at Comic-Con. So when we get more information about this, I will definitely update you guys on here. Well, now it's time for Rapid Fire. Rapid Fire is a segment of the show where I basically go through quick updates on accounts that we've already talked about in terms of just little casting updates on films or little updates on little pieces of information. So without any further ado, let's get into Rapid Fire. So the first issue of Rapid Fire is Dave Bautista, WWE wrestler Dave Bautista, and UFC fighter George St. Pierre have both signed on to the remake of Kickboxer, the Jean-Claude Van Damme 1989 martial arts film. They've also cast an unknown as the lead, so these guys are presumably going to be playing the villains in the movie. I can see Batista being more of the actor than George St. Pierre, especially after watching Captain America. He didn't have to do much. He wasn't called on to do much, so he did fine in his role, but George St. Pierre as Baltrock, the Leaper, he doesn't have the same kind of, this is going to sound really weird for me to say this, but he doesn't have the same acting chops as Dave Bautista. It's just funny. So we know that they have both signed on. It was actually just announced earlier today that this was going to be happening. So we are getting a remake of Kickboxer. The reason for it, I don't know. The money could have gone into something else. I really don't know. Maybe they have a great idea, or maybe they're just saying, you know what, it was 1989. By the time the movie comes out, it'll be, 25 years. So actually this is 25 years now. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, having these guys together, yeah, it'll be cool. If they fight, that'll be even awesome, or even more awesome, but as it stands right now, I mean, yeah, it's just we got an updated Kickboxer coming out. Jean-Claude Van Damme so far has nothing to do with this project, so it is going to be brand new. And the new guy that got coming in, I mean, I'm always for new martial artists coming in on the scene. I mean, look at what happened with Tony Jaa. Tony Jaa, when he came in after Ong Bak, um, a lot of people wanted to work with him, and then he lost his mind and became a monk and wandered into the woods while directing Ong Bak 3. Like, he just left the set for I don't know how many months, and then he just returned. And he was directing it. Like, the guy lost his mind. So I want to see more martial arts type movies come in, but they need to be more character based. You can't just have guys fighting, because there's no emotional depth to that. There's no character weight. There's no you don't care about them, and eventually you don't care about the action sequences because you don't care about people that are involved in it. So I mean, as it stands right now, it'll hopefully be a cool flick, but yeah, I mean, we got Dave Bautista and George St. Pierre signing on to a movie together. That's got to be something right there. So, all right, the next section of Rapid Fire is Sigourney Weaver was just doing an interview, and she not only confirmed that she will be returning for Avatar 2, 3, and 4. I don't know how yet, but she will be a little different in each one. These were her words, and she will transform somewhat. Take that how you will. I'm going to assume then, and again, minor spoilers, but I'm going to assume then that she has now become part of nature. Whether or not it was her entire being that went into the tree, I don't know. Maybe she's in the world. Maybe she's a plant in one. Maybe she's a tree in another. Maybe she's an animal in the fourth. I really don't know. But we got Sigourney Weaver coming back. We've got Colonel Quaritch. I can't remember the actor's name. The guy with the 3 claws marks on his face, the guy who got shot with the giant arrows. Yeah, he's back for all 3. So, I mean, I don't know how they're going to do it. To me, this is starting to have a Matrix sequels feel where it's like, oh, we're not going to create a new villain. We're just going to bring back the villain we already killed. And we're going to make him like God. This is going to be cool visually. I just don't know about story-wise. The thing that has hope, the thing that gives me hope, is there's a different person writing each Avatar sequel. James Cameron wrote the outlines, and he gave it off to other people to write. So I have a little bit more faith in that. He's a great screenwriter, don't get me wrong, but he gets a little heavy-handed. He gets involved in his own work a little bit too much. So I am happy to hear that we got 2, 3, and 4 coming. They'll be coming out, I believe it is December 2016, December 2017, and December 2018. They do go into production in October of this year, so we'll be getting more information probably closer to the fall. And the final issue of Rapid Fire is Roberto Orci. We had a story about a week and a half to two, or actually about 2.5 weeks ago, that Roberto Orci was lobbying very hard to get the director's chair of Star Trek 3. Well, it looks like he may get his wish. He is now officially the front runner to direct Star Trek 3. I'm assuming the official announcement's going to happen either at Comic-Con or by the end of the summer. But it looks as though he's most likely going to be the director. Now, Roberto Orci, this will be his first feature film. He's been involved in a lot of high-profile films, so he knows his way around the system. He knows. I'm confident in the fact that he knows the right people to get involved with. He knows the right people to get in his corner, as it were. In terms of his visual style, we have no idea what that's going to be. If he's going to borrow JJ's visual style from the first two, we know he's going to have to keep in with that visual continuity, but still bring his own unique spin to it. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does with this project. If he continues it on the way that it's already been set up, or if he tries to do something new. We don't know. We don't have any idea yet. But as soon as we get more information, I'll definitely update you guys on here. Well, that'll do it for us here on Coming Soon Movie News with Nicholson. Thank you so much for watching. You guys have been a great audience. Don't forget to click the subscribe button down here below me. And also don't forget to check out our brand new website at www.movienewswithnicholson.ca. You can get updates on all of our new episodes, as well as links to all of our original episodes. You can find links to our Facebook page, as well as our YouTube page on the website. And also in the contact section of the website is an area where you can submit your questions or topics that you want to have talked about on the show. And we'll talk about them on every Friday episode. So, like I said, if you go to the contact section, you can submit all your questions there. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Nicholson, Niklsun, for all your movie updates. You can get them all there. So again, thank you so much for watching. You guys have been great, and you enjoy your day. Take care.